part 2 of the FXSSI indicators. I'm just going to talk about the Pro indicators. You can use the free ones. That's also a very good indicator, the chart overlay. But have a look at that at your leisure. It tells you volumes and it tells you by the candle colour. This was really interesting. So you can see when there's inactivity on the candle when it's grey, and when it's big volumes then it's a dark blue or dark red. So it's quite useful. I would definitely have a look at that. And there's so many good things on this website. The support and resistance is excellent as well. That's free. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to talk about the Pro indicator. So part 1 talked about the stop loss clusters. Let's talk about the profit ratio. Now we know that the retail guys, they don't hold on to their winners, and that they let their losses run. So it'd be unusual to see them profit, and this is the theory behind this indicator. There's like a logic to it, is that you can hold into a drawdown for weeks and weeks, and then maybe a day or 2 days that you're in profit, and it just like goes slightly against you, then you're out. Even though you've waited 2 weeks or a month or even longer, you will just exit because you think, oh, I've just spent all that time in drawdown and now I'm in profit. I can't afford it for it to go into drawdown again, so you exit. And this is the common thing with retail traders. So they're counter trend, they're against the trend, and when they do finally get in profit, they exit because they can't afford to be in drawdown again. And so it continues. So that's the logic there. So it's really, really powerful. And these will tell us when they're profiting. So we can look to look for reversals, but it's more like a heads up to say it can continue, but they are making money, and so that would be slightly unusual. This is like a median line, and that's their profit line. And you'll find that that profit is never very, very high. It's always around the 20%, 30%, or 40% of profit. The majority never profit, and we can see this in the profit ratio indicator. So it's like gives us a heads up, just to say they are making money. So just take that into consideration. It's not a guarantee of reversal, but it does tell us, that fact that we can potentially expect price to go against them, and that's the logic there. So it's just one of those things. Like you can see examples when we've exceeded. They've made too much profit on their selling, so it has to come up. And so yeah, too much profit on their selling has to come up. Likewise, so definitely have a look at the profit ratio. Loads of stuff to it, and use it in conjunction with the stop loss clusters as well. And so that's cool, very good, very useful, but it's also quite cruel as well. I sit here most days and I see these stop loss clusters get taken. I can see them move against the trend and getting liquidated, and you see it every day, and you see it using these indicators. So let's go back. So that's what uncovered. Open interest should be fairly self-explanatory. It tells us the open interest amount of volume of market participants. So you'll see this increase on big volumes day, like NFP, and the volumes will increase. So it just tells us the amount of open long and short trades, or in other words, the total volume of open orders in the market. So it's useful. You can have this. See, the thing for me is that I've only got 4 screens, so I'm quite limited to what I can see. But it's definitely useful to have a look at, and you can get delta analysis as well. It's a difference between the current and previous value of open interest, so it gives us like a quite a good overview. The volumes over time. So as just keep the default settings. So it's quite useful. When you see lots of dumb money coming into the market, you can expect a reaction of that, basically. Let's go back. Trading activity. There's so many indicators. It's an indicator showing the change in the structure of sellers and buyers. It shows you how many sellers and buyers have opened or closed the trades for the previous period. and you can use it directly out of the box. You just need to choose a color scheme according to your preference. So yeah, you've got an increase or decrease of activity, so it gives you a very in-depth analysis of the market, and you can see the percentage change in buyers and sellers. So obviously if we come up to a key level, if we come up to like a monthly pivot, or some huge supply or some huge demand that you have visibility of, and you can see whether or not the buyers are increasing or the sellers are increasing. So really we should be at support at a demand level. If we're talking like weekly demand, it's going to bounce off that, and if they're increasing, the sellers are increasing, then it's going to be a buy up, because sentimentally it's a buy, technically it'll be a buy. Okay, so you try and get this to align with technicals, in my opinion. And so it's very useful. Trading activity is pretty awesome. Likewise, I wouldn't change the settings, but if you pay for the Pro Plus license, then you can change your data. I would change it to 6 months. Maybe you wouldn't want to do a year, but 6 months is probably okay. And that's that. So loads of good stuff there. Let's go back to sentiment. Derivatives. Now the really cool thing about the derivatives is a thing called the medium volume buy positions, and we can think of it like a VWAP, where it tells us the volume, and this tells us the volume of the done money, and we can use it for price to cross the MVP, and that could be a good signal. So we currently would be a bullish because we're above the MVP line, all right? And you've got overbought, oversold, prior resistance A, prior resistance B, support resistance, and the moving volume by orders, which is something I don't look at. I look at the positions, but you can do the orders as well. So we use it as like a VWAP line where you'd wait for price to cross below, and it gives you, just a thumbs up that it was actually a sell. Overbought, oversold. Oh, it's a gravity level. Okay. So that, again, don't mess around with the settings. If you wanted to change the data to 6 months, you could do. By default, I would have MVP on because it's amazing. It's really, really useful. So that's the derivatives. It gives you a big overview of the market. So there's a thing called the return point, which is interesting. So I'll have to look into that. That's quite interesting, that. And so that's that. What else have we got? Ratio, and that's it. I think, yeah, covered them. So not an incredibly in-depth video, but the ones in the first video I'd 100% recommend. Have a look at these ones. Definitely got massive potential as well, especially if you can find yourself a niche, and if you can get that niche to work, then and you profit, then stick to it for sure. I've had great success on the ratios, the current ratio and the order book. And also a big fan of derivatives and trading activity. Open interest is useful, but I don't particularly use it, but it could be used. It's up to you. So hopefully the video is useful. The free indicators are also amazing as well, so have a look at those, and I'll wrap up the video now. So have a good day, and I'll speak to you guys soon.